Yeah, Blake Lively is dropping 2 of her claims against Justin Baldoni. We are now very many moons away from the initial filings. So why is she suddenly abandoning those 2 most pertinent claims?
Blake Lively is reportedly facing a tough moment after attorney Bryan Freedman responded to her lawsuit with a powerful and unexpected legal strategy. His bold move quickly shifted momentum, catching many by surprise. In response, Lively quietly withdrew 2 of her claims, likely an attempt to ease the pressure. However, Freedman didn't let up, standing firm and signaling that this legal battle is far from over.
It's a very dramatic lawsuit. And Baldoni's team said no dice to this, okay? They went to the judge and said that is ridiculous.
Bryan Freedman's call for concrete medical evidence came as a major twist in the courtroom, catching everyone off guard. Blake Lively appeared shaken by the move, as the intensity of the legal battle surged. What started as a high-profile case is quickly unraveling, with many comparing it to a dramatic film. Except this one's playing out in real life, and the public can't look away.
In this initial filing, Blake Lively uses the term, or just uses the word rather, suffer 31 times. She uses the word emotional 30 times and distress 18 times throughout this filing.
On May 15th, 2025, Blake Lively made a surprising move by dropping her emotional distress claims against Justin Baldoni. These were the same claims in which she described severe embarrassment and emotional suffering. Just like that, the allegations were taken off the table, leaving many wondering, was the evidence ever really there, or was this just a dramatic narrative that couldn't hold up under scrutiny?
Baldoni's team obviously are preparing for this lawsuit. She's asking for money. She's asking for these damages. She is saying that she's been so aggrieved. The language is so strong.
Enter Bryan Freedman, the legal heavyweight who's quickly turning this case on its head. If the courtroom were a battlefield, Freedman is leading the charge. And when Blake tried to quietly drop some of her claims, he wasn't about to let that slide without a fight.
Suddenly, Baldoni's team is saying, okay, let's see your medical records, duh.
Freedman responded with a strategic legal move, refusing to allow Blake to withdraw those claims without prejudice, a legal term that would have let her revisit them later without new evidence. In simple terms, he demanded accountability and transparency.
So emotional, you can't get out of bed, you're sick, you can't eat, can't sleep. You know, let's go through and see if you were seeing a psychiatrist.
With that one decision, Freedman closed the door on any legal loopholes. Blake can't simply step away from proving her claims now and revisit them when it's more convenient. It was a bold maneuver that struck at the heart of her argument. And with the case now in the discovery phase, the timing couldn't be more critical. Removing emotional distress from the equation leaves her overall lawsuit looking increasingly fragile, built more on suggestion than substance. Without proof of harm, the claims of harassment and retaliation lose serious weight.
Because of the phase of discovery, okay?
And based on how Freedman has been systematically challenging her case, it seems that evidence supporting those emotional distress claims may not actually exist.
They go to the judge, they go to Judge Lehman, and they file this motion essentially saying that they want the judge to compel her to sign a HIPAA privacy release.
Adding to the intrigue is the sudden wave of positive media coverage around Blake. Right after stepping back from her emotional claims, stories began surfacing highlighting her professionalism, with co-stars and directors praising her demeanor on set.
Yeah, no, this is the worst thing we've ever seen.
It's the kind of public relations push you'd expect from someone trying to reinforce credibility, but it raises eyebrows. It feels like a scripted pivot, and for many watching closely, it calls into question whether the original narrative was ever as solid as it seemed.
Because that solitary allegation, right, the emotional distress, infliction of emotional distress, was perhaps the most consistent claim of her entire suit.
But here's the twist. This isn't just about avoiding legal challenges. It's also about keeping personal details private. That includes sensitive health and medical records, which would likely become part of the evidence if the emotional claims stayed on the table.
And so Team Baldoni goes, what do you mean you're not going to file a release? You obviously have to prove your claims. So So they go to Judge Lehman, and they file this motion, essentially saying that they want the judge to compel her to sign a HIPAA privacy release.
Freedman's team argued that letting the claims go without consequence would mean opening the door to those records. And it's clear that's something Blake doesn't want. Whether there's nothing there or something she's actively trying to keep hidden, the optics are raising serious questions.
She's only agreeing to drop the claims, meaning that she has a right to refile these claims in the future. No, please force her hand here. This isn't fair.
At this point, Blake Lively's lawsuit appears to be losing steam. Her legal credibility is weakening, and Bryan Freedman is turning the tide in dramatic fashion. He's not just defending his client, he's shifting the entire narrative. What once looked like a high-profile case is starting to feel like a cautionary tale about the risks of making serious claims without solid proof.
Why is she suddenly abandoning those two most pertinent claims? Okay, those two claims where it just outright spells that they inflicted upon her all this emotional distress. And the answer is simple. It's obvious. It's what I said was coming all along.
Let's take a quick step back. Lively's legal team initially said the decision to drop emotional distress claims was simply to streamline the case, suggesting the focus would move to broader allegations like retaliation and harassment. But Freedman wasn't convinced, and he pushed back hard. His response was clear: if you claim emotional harm, you have to be ready to support it with evidence. And according to him, Lively wasn't.
Blake Lively's team then comes back and indicates, okay, no, we're just gonna drop claims 10 and claims 11 altogether. So you no longer need us to sign that release.
Now, the legal chatter is heating up. Behind the scenes, rumors suggest Lively may be trying to avoid turning over her medical records, documents often required to support emotional distress claims. That raises an obvious question. What's in those records that she doesn't want made public? Whether it's a matter of privacy or a lack of evidence, the optics are clearly working against her.
And they filed a motion since they asked her to submit that to them. Tell us who your doctors are. We will obviously file for a HIPAA release. She says, no dice. I'm not signing.
Freedman didn't stop there. He filed a formal motion to ensure the claims couldn't be withdrawn quietly or without consequences. And he didn't keep it behind closed doors either. The filing was made public, increasing pressure on Lively's legal team and drawing even more attention to the case.
Sign this, and you will then be compelled to share this information.
In response, Lively's camp accused Freedman of turning the legal battle into a media spectacle. But critics were quick to point out the irony, especially since Lively initially took her allegations to the press before even filing them in court.
The statement added that Lively will continue to use her voice to speak up for justice on behalf of herself and others. I mean, this sickens me.
Meanwhile, public opinion is shifting. Many are questioning the sincerity of Lively's claims, especially as she's been seen attending red carpet events and celebrating career milestones during the same period she claims emotional turmoil. Her film Another Simple Favor hit #1 on Amazon, and her social media remains upbeat. It's a stark contrast that's hard to ignore.
It's effectively saying via an order, which we can pull this up, and you can see the language on this, which he has stamped, that he's not going to compel her at this time to sign the HIPAA privacy release. Granted that he fully expects her to therefore drop all claims of emotional distress, okay?
So what's really going on? Is this a miscalculated legal strategy or a PR effort that's unraveling fast? Either way, Freedman's sharp tactics and Lively's inconsistent narrative are painting a clearer picture. This lawsuit isn't just in trouble. It could go down as one of the most damaging missteps of her career.
Now, also mind you, at the beginning of all of this, Blake Lively, remember, fought for her attorney's eyes-only protection.
Freedman quickly focused on a critical issue: Lively's reluctance to provide evidence, especially medical documentation that could support her emotional distress claims. Her team tried to withdraw those claims without prejudice, meaning they could bring them back later. But Freedman shut that down immediately.
She hasn't produced a single shred of evidence to that effect.
By pushing for a with prejudice dismissal, Freedman ensured that if those claims were removed, they'd stay off the table for good. No second chances.
Big news, Blake Lively has abandoned Two of the claims against him, the claims that are pertaining to infliction of emotional distress, which means we are close, ladies and gentlemen. We are inching ever closer to the inevitable end of this lawsuit.
This tells us something important. Baldoni's defense isn't just reacting, it's actively dismantling the opposing case. Freedman is sending a clear message. If you make serious accusations, you need real evidence. Otherwise, expect to be challenged at every step.
We're dropping these claims because we're just streamlining and focusing on other elements of this case.
Lively's hesitation to provide documentation isn't a small hiccup. It's becoming a major red flag. And Freedman isn't handling it quietly. By filing motions publicly, he's using transparency to his advantage. While Lively's team accuses him of creating a media frenzy, observers note she helped set that tone herself from the very beginning.
Blake Lively wants to withdraw her claims of emotional distress.
From day one, Lively's strategy seemed focused on shaping the narrative through the press. Before filing her lawsuit, she went public with her story, casting Baldoni in a negative light. But now, Freedman is flipping the script, pointing out the inconsistencies and refusing to let the case be tried through headlines alone. In this legal and PR chess match, Freedman appears to be several moves ahead.
This was just her paranoia. This whole lawsuit was her being paranoid because she's so narcissistic that she could not believe that the public legitimately did not like her behavior. And so she cooked up in her paranoid head, along with her psychopath husband.
Let's take a closer look at the timeline of Blake Lively's moves. It all began with high-profile media interviews and public accusations laid out in vivid detail. But while her narrative gained traction in the press, her follow-through in the courtroom told a different story. By the time she officially filed suit, the reputational damage to Justin Baldoni had already been done. This wasn't just a legal move, it was a media campaign dressed as one.
Knows fully well that they now cannot win punitive damages for the emotional distress claims that are mentioned in the remaining 11 causes of action.
Soon after, the backlash began. Fans and critics alike started pointing out the contradictions. On one hand, Lively was claiming emotional turmoil. On the other, she was making red carpet appearances and celebrating career highs, like her film Another Simple Favor reaching the top spot on Amazon. Her public image didn't quite match the narrative of personal distress.
No, it shows that you don't think that we have the capability to read the lawsuit. Okay? Mike, Gottlieb, we're not that stupid. I want you to know that.
This disconnect raised eyebrows. Public opinion started to shift, with some questioning the sincerity of her claims. Of course, everyone copes in their own way, but flaunting success while claiming emotional suffering left many wondering, was this genuine recovery or strategic damage control?
This is from the New York Times, and they posted the actual legal filing. So I'll start with this. During a meeting on January 4th, the parties discussed in detail the inappropriate conduct that Blake Lively, her employees, and other cast and crew experienced at the hands of Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath.
Meanwhile, Baldoni's team alleged that Lively had been running a coordinated smear campaign, one that played out through headlines, not hard evidence. Critics called out the irony, accusing Baldoni of media manipulation while seemingly orchestrating her own. Freedman, representing Baldoni, made sure that irony didn't go unnoticed.
Everyone was talking about how horrible she is, how tone-deaf she is, how stupid she is.
All of this is taking a toll. Lively's credibility is being questioned more with each development. Her refusal to submit key evidence, coupled with her continued public presence, is making it difficult to take her claims seriously. In contrast, Freedman's firm, no-nonsense approach is casting Baldoni as the grounded figure in the chaos.
She lost her reputation. Now she can no longer be booked for movies.
Because this isn't just a legal fight, it's a fight for public trust. And right now, Freedman is winning by using Lively's own strategies against her. The inconsistencies of her story are becoming impossible to ignore, and her team seems to be struggling to keep control of the narrative.
And what's left is the ability for them to prove that there was some sort of a coordinated PR campaign. Essentially, they can attach that alleged coordinated PR campaign against Blake Lively.
The once calculated media plan is now starting to resemble something more desperate. As Freedman continues to methodically challenge her case, the glitzy PR campaign seems less like a strategy and more like a scramble to stay ahead of an unraveling legal situation. And when the spotlight gets this bright, it tends to reveal everything.
I gotta tell you, I do not want them to drop this lawsuit anymore.
Lively's case appears to be coming apart at the seams, and the foundation is shaky at best. Her allegations against Baldoni, ranging from harassment to defamation, remain largely unsupported. The more time passes, the more the case looks like it's running on headlines rather than hard facts.
Baldoni will still have to defend himself against her SH claim and retaliation and the smear campaign.
Take the harassment allegations, for example. They sound severe, but when it comes to producing actual proof, Lively's legal team hasn't delivered. And the claim of a smear campaign? Thus far, it rests on implication, not evidence. If concrete proof existed, many believe it would have surfaced by now.
She also said I was determined to bottle up premium, salon-quality hair care that is cleaner, cruelty-free, easier, yummier, more sustainable, and more accessible than anything I saw out there. Yummy is one of my ick words, I think. Yummier.
And the courtroom isn't the only place where things are shaky. Enter Blake Brown, Lively's lifestyle brand, another venture facing serious turbulence.
So Blake Brown includes 3 shampoos. Firstly, the Fundamental Nourishing Shampoo and the Fundamental Strengthening Shampoo. And these are designed to be like alternated between.
Once seen as a promising business, Blake Brown is now under scrutiny for questionable marketing practices. Among the allegations, misleading sales tactics that could put the brand in violation of FTC guidelines. Not the kind of headlines any entrepreneur wants.
And you kind of expect this from celebrity brands. Clean, natural, free of nasties, all that kind of shit.
The discounts sounded too good to be true because they might have been. Reports allege that flashy, 80% off sales misrepresented the actual product values, creating false urgency. Add to that a growing disconnect between the brand's marketed affordability and its actual prices, and you've got a branding crisis brewing. For someone whose image hinges on authenticity, that's a major problem.
People had wondered for years and years, when is Blake Lively with her amazing, lush, thick hair? When is she gonna launch a hair care brand so we could all get her hair?
But the issues go deeper. Sales are reportedly down, and the brand is losing relevance. It's an almost poetic parallel. As Lively's legal challenges escalate, her professional brand appears to be collapsing too. A coincidence? Maybe. But the connection is hard to ignore.
Your entire reputation is being sunk. What are you doing here?
This isn't just a business hiccup. It's part of a broader narrative. The legal problems, the PR misfires, the brand controversies, they all intersect. And the cracks are starting to show. Lively once stood for empowerment and transparency. Now, both her legal and business dealings seem to be telling a different story.
You're only going to lose this in the actual court. You're also going to lose this in the court of public opinion.
And let's be honest, this doesn't look like a string of bad luck. It looks like a series of decisions gone wrong. Whether it's the legal tactics, the PR rollouts, or the branding strategy, the miscalculations are piling up. At some point, the question becomes, is this overreaching ambition or a lack of accountability?
We're just trying to save face here publicly by not butchering the entire lawsuit, but this is a major, major loss.
Because when lawsuits fall apart, the consequences go far beyond court. In Hollywood, reputation damage spreads fast and can last even longer. Right now, Lively's public image is under pressure from every angle.
I'm going, what's actually left of this lawsuit? You're removing emotional distress.
When news broke that she was pulling emotional distress claims, public trust didn't just waver, it nosedived. Fans who once supported her began to question her motives. Without solid evidence to back up serious accusations, even loyal followers are starting to lose confidence. And behind the scenes, industry whispers about difficult on-set behavior and diva-like conduct are only adding fuel to the fire. In entertainment, perception is everything, and Lively's image is in danger of slipping beyond repair.
What they're doing here, I guess, listening to their lawyers who are just trying to make the bills go up, right? Just racking up the costs here, which is what lawyers sometimes do.
Which brings us to the critical question, what does all of this mean for Blake Lively's career? The answer is simple: risk. Hollywood is known for taking chances, but not when there's baggage that might bring bad press or a legal fallout. Casting directors, studios, and producers are already thinking twice. Not because she isn't talented, but because at the moment she's a liability.
Seems like a pretty steep climb. And as I said, I think we are inching ever closer to having this lawsuit being completely dropped, but I don't know what they're doing.
So, what happens if her case completely collapses? It could open the door to further legal exposure, maybe even a defamation countersuit. Freedman, who has aggressively defended Baldoni throughout, is reportedly weighing that very option. This entire saga is turning into a case study in how quickly things can spiral when legal actions and PR campaigns go unchecked. In the end, Blake Lively is at a crossroads. She can pause, reset, and try to rebuild, or double down and risk letting it all unravel. Because in the world of fame and scrutiny, sometimes the most important fight isn't in the courtroom, it's in the public's trust.